All right, how are you guys doing this week? Before we begin, I just want to make one statement. I did go through and I was checking everyone's grades and everything because we're right about, we're actually officially basically halfway through the course, and you guys are doing awesome. I mean, you're getting all the work done. Like everyone's been keeping up with the labs, and I know it's boring to just follow somebody on a video tutorial thing. I get it. I hate it too. But honestly, your work too, your guys' projects that you've turned in so far have been like nice, like very good. I've been very impressed. And it's nice too because I see your guys' personalities come through. Like some of you guys are real dorky and like real like nutty about like this like thing. You're like, this is really cool. Like I like I mean we're all dorky in our own way, but like I like X-Men and stuff like that. Like I grew up with that, like the X-Men cartoon, so like I probably would have done something with that. So it's nice that I get to see some of your guys' interests. So even though we're not, you know, in the classroom together, like we're still able to do, I'm still able to kind of see you guys. So I really like your guys' biography projects were awesome. They were very funny. Some of them were even kind of heartwarming. Really, honestly, I've just been very impressed. You guys did a really good job. So it's actually been one of my, as bad as this whole situation is, it's actually been, I feel like your guys' work has been better than maybe the best I've had like so far in web design. So I just want to give you guys a kudos for that. So a little, okay. But what we're going to do is carry on now from where we left off. So I'll have the lab materials posted in the usual spots. Mostly what I really want to do in this one, I'm going to make this kind of light and fluffy and easy, is I just want to add the embeddable technologies, basically. I'm just going to add these various things in here, just so you can see how to do it. It's actually these are actually really easy. You just have to grab stuff and slap it on in there, and they give you the code. So I just want to show you that. In the next week, what we'll do is I'm going to show you how to format the various Bootstrap components, but that's basically what we're going to be shooting for. So I might have to cut back to this just so I remember which ones to grab. But where we are is right here. Now, if you do grab if you grab my lab materials, if you feel like yours is wrong or something and you can use your own. Like if yours looks fine and it looks like mine and you're all good, then just keep going with that. There's no need to like do anything. You just carry on from that one. But if for some reason you need to grab mine and you grab the lab, and I'm sure many of you will, what you're going to want to do is this. If you start off, it's going to, just open it up. It might ask you to manage sites. Just don't do it. Just get to this point. Then we'll manage sites. What you're going to want to do is just go to Site, Manage Site, and then you're going to want to do a new site. And then you can name it whatever you want. So mine's just called Cones. So we'll just do like cone example or something. Or you could call it, let's say we call it, what's this, week 08. Then just navigate to that folder. Make sure you unzip it. Navigate to the folder. And then so it's just going to be called Cones. So I'm going to grab that folder. You can double click on it just to make sure you're in there. And then I can see, okay, this is all the stuff in there. Do not click on these folders because it'll think it's one of these. We want it to be on here. So you can see right here it says Cones still. If I click on one of these, it's going to say whatever that is, and that's going to become it. Okay, actually, I'll show you. So if I click on this and it's select folder, if I click and drag, you can see it thinks it's the Java. See how it says .js? So just make sure that you go to Cones and hit select folder. And now if you look, you'll see it says Cones, and then you hit save. It's not the same site for Cones. It'll say something that's like, basically it's going to try and make it work. I'm not going to do that. Cancel. Because I already have it. But that's what you're going to want to do, just to connect it up again. Okay? Alright. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. Done. You might want to just do something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and open. Now once you hit open, that should be the one that's like set on by default now. I can just go ahead and open up my index. And we should be good to go here. Let's see. Okay. Give it a second. Yay. Okay. Okay, so we have what we have here. And then what I'm going to do is look what we got. And that all looks fine. What I want to do is this. So basically this week what I was covering, let's go to my site here. The first thing is just Bootstrap components. So we've already honestly really done most of them. Like there's the carousel, and then there's the nav bar, which we already used. We already did a carousel. That was the top thing that we did, the slider there. There's cards. I also put cards in there. That's what these guys are here. Quite frankly, if you want, you can just make an empty one and then just switch this to Bootstrap. Go to the Insert, Bootstrap. And then you can just click on these and see what they are. I also put a link here that you can just click on this. And I don't know if you know this, but if you middle mouse button click on a link, it'll actually open it up in a new tab. Because, you know, you could also like right click and open a new tab, but it's if you middle click, I find it useful anyway. But you can see all the components here. So there's alerts and badge, which is like these things, and breadcrumb, which isn't really all that useful, and card. I showed you card already. Collapse, like that's kind of a neat thing. So basically, it's this thing. It'll make something open up and down, right? It's kind of like an accordion. Do they have accordion in here? I didn't see it, but so you can look through these if you want and see if any of these look interesting to you. I would just click through them, see what they do, and then kind of go from there. Okay, so if some of these might even not, they might have some in here that actually aren't even in Dreamweaver, and there might be some in Dreamweaver that aren't here because Bootstrap's always updating and Dreamweaver's always updating, so they could be a little bit different. So I would look at both and see what they have, and you might, you know, include those. Okay, yeah, not now, but I'm saying when you do your own. But anyway, so that's what those are. But really, they're as easy as just copying and pasting the code, and you already know how to do that. We already set up the rows, and we just put those in there. So what I want to cover is doing the these things, the embeddable technologies. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and show you how to. We're going to do Rickroll, right? So I'm never going to give you up, guys. I'm going to give you up. So, because it wouldn't be complete without one of these. So you probably have seen this, and you know you might copy and share a link. But if you go down here, you'll see a little button that says Share. If you click on Share, it's going to pop open this thing. Oh, no! Stop! No! Stop! There we go. Sorry about that. But you'll see share on Facebook and blah blah blah. And I don't do any of this social media crap. But if you click on Embed, it'll actually give you an iframe. So see the iframe. If you remember, the iframe is just a window into another website. So they set up all of these so you can just iframe them into your site. So if you watch, I'm just gonna here it is. You can click this to copy. They do have some settings, like if you want to start at a certain time code. I thought there was more options than that, but I usually just click copy. Then go to your site, and then what I'm going to do, here. I'm going to go ahead and just put it in this section here. I'm just going to put in this first section there. Okay, so I'm going to go to my code, and apparently these are back to being unexpanded or expanded. I want to unexpand. Is that a word? It's a word now. So I'm not. Wait a minute. I want to collapse my cards. So I'm just going through and collapsing each one of these cards just to make it easier, because you can see it gets very tedious. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep my H3, but I'm going to get rid of my P, and I'm just going to put the iframe in there instead. So watch. I'm just going to click and drag across these. I'm going to get rid of this P. Okay. So now I got this H3, and then I'm just going to hit Control V to paste. And it's going to paste that iframe. Now, you might need to adjust this depending on the size of your window. So if you look, you see it says 560 by 315. I think that has to deal with when you have it open in your browser. Because I've noticed if I'm on a different browser, the defaults will be different. All you have to do is you can literally just change it right here. So if I wanted to make it 720 by whatever, I could do that. I would try to keep it proportionately the same. So if I go up to a certain number here, make sure that this number corresponds. Because otherwise you're going to have like weird gaps. But that's it. It's literally going to be like that. And then if you click on live and I scroll down, there it is. There's my Rick Astley. Okay. And then if you hit play, it would just play like, will this work in here? Oh, it will. Okay. I wasn't sure if it would actually update in this. Maybe. Oh, video unavailable. Okay. So it didn't work. But anyway, it allows you to just go ahead and slap it on in there. And it's as easy as that. And you know all the videos you see on my website? The one you're watching right at this moment? Obviously, those are all YouTube videos. That's exactly what I've been doing. I just upload them on there, and then I slap them on here. Now, there's an advantage to this, because if you remember in a couple of classes ago, I talked about that there is a video tag that they added for HTML5, which is great, because it gives you options, and you can code it on yourself. The problem is when you do that, though, is that means you have to host it on your own server. And some servers, they limit how much space you have like they charge you based on how much server space you take, basically how large your website is. And so, you don't want to have videos are pretty large files. You also have to deal with when you do create the video, you have to make sure it's formatted so that it'll play well for the browser. And you have to format the player and all the other stuff. By grabbing it from YouTube, you kind of off-put that onto their server because you're uploading it to YouTube. And so there's actually an advantage because, for one, you don't have to worry about formatting. You don't have to worry about doing that other stuff. You don't have to worry about space. You also don't have to worry about bandwidth. So another thing that happens when you have a website that you upload to a server is that they charge you for a bandwidth, which what that means basically is you have a bunch of people looking at your website, right? So they're all trying to download information from your site. So like the video, for instance. If they're all trying to download that video, it's going to make your site bog down. But if your video is just embedded as an iframe from YouTube, they're doing it from YouTube. And obviously Google is a huge behemoth. They have the bandwidth to spare. So it won't affect you in any way. It's going to take it from them, and they're automatically going to have all that stuff formatted correctly. So obviously you deal with copyright issues and stuff, and I'm always worried that they're going to try and steal our stuff. So when you do put stuff on there, obviously you're always taking a risk. But there are some advantages, and that's why I do it. Most of the stuff I feel like, my stuff all goes out of date anyways, and I have to constantly I've made this video I don't know how many times. But if it's something where it's like, this is a film that I made, maybe don't use YouTube. Maybe use Vimeo. I think Vimeo has something similar. Or maybe you just upload it onto your website if it's something that's very important to you. But anyway, that's how you would do it in YouTube. It's pretty easy, pretty simple, pretty nice, right? I like that. That's straightforward. Now, another thing you might want to do, and I'm going to do it in here, is to do this. You might want to do, sometimes if you have a restaurant or something and you want to be like, this is where we are, right? You'll see a Google Maps, like little square. Again, very simple to do. So go to Maps, Google Maps, wherever, just search it. You'll see it pop up. And then you type in an address up here. And then, again, there's a share button. Click on that. And then you'll see embed a map. And then here's the iframe. So I'll just hit copy HTML. I'm going to go over to here and go to my code. And it's this section here, right? So let's do split. Oops. If for some reason you're trying to find it over here, and you're like, oh, I can't find it. If you do this, if you click on a section, you will see the cursor will actually move up to it. So see how this is on, I'm between T and H, and it went to T and H. If I click in here, it'll click in here. So if you're trying to like, oh, where is this over in my code? You can actually click on these different items and it'll pop over on the code view. So if you ever have a hard time seeing the difference between the two, that's another way of doing it. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and again take out this P and then Control V. And that's a very large iframe. And I'm just going to make sure this is tabbed in because I like to have my stuff clean. Everything nice and clean. And then what you're going to see, let me go ahead and just straight up go to live and boom, look at it. There's a Google map just ready to embed. Now, you can also see here, though, that it's not fitting right. So I'd have to go through, and this one's a little bit off, too. And I don't know if maybe this is pushing this a little bit, too. So I might have to go through. I would preview it to see, like, hit the little preview button down here that opens it up in the browser. And make sure that it actually is off, because sometimes things don't look right in here. But if it is off, I might have to do some things about trying to scale this. Okay, so... but for now, that looks fine. That's acceptable. Yay. Okay. Now, probably the main thing, those are kind of like just fun things. The main thing that's really important for you with your site is this. There are different things I consider like tent poles of graphic design. So, I had like a quick thing where we kind of went over the art elements and design principles. But those are like generic things that apply to all arts, right? Fine arts, applied arts, whatever. It doesn't matter. Some of them don't really use as many. Like, obviously, form isn't going to be as big of a thing on a flat surface. You know what I mean? So there are certain things that don't really apply as much to some, but they're meant as a broad appeal for all art. But there's certain things with graphic design that are kind of important. And so some of those would basically be color, right? So color's a major thing. And that kind of includes, photography and that sort of like the images themselves. Composition. So usually we're using a grid to determine our composition. And then the third one is topography, right? Because usually those are really the kind of things that you're dealing with as far as like what they're looking at. Your content is basically going to be those images in color and your type, and that's all going to fit inside of a composition, which is going to usually fit in a grid. So we need to put our type in here. Now, I'm not going to be able to put like the type in some areas like this nav bar and things like that, but what I'm going to do is just quickly slap in some fonts. Now, one of the issues that we have, and you remember when we would do Visual Studio Code, and when we typed in font-family, it would give us a list, and it gave us like basically, I don't remember, it was like 4 or 5 options, right? Now you can use any font that you have. It doesn't have to be those, but the problem is that let's say I put in, some sort of fancy, frilly, Helvetica fantasy, Roman times. I don't know. I'm making up something, right? Well, if that's a really obscure, interesting font that I downloaded from somewhere, there's 2 problems with this. If I put that as my font and I upload it onto the internet, you are not going to be able to see it because you don't have that font. You have to have the font in order to see it, right? So the only other thing I could do is I could also upload that font to my site and have you download it so that you can see it, right? I can have, there's a way to make that automatically happen. But that's a problem too, because you don't own that font, so you're not allowed to distribute it. Some of them you can look at what the copyrights are, but it gets a little hairy, and I don't really like dealing with that, okay? So, basically, using unique fonts is just not an option, because you don't want to distribute fonts that you don't own, and you can't put fonts in that they don't have, and, computers with Mac computers versus desktop computers versus mobile devices, they all have different font libraries, so you have no idea what they have in them. So that doesn't work. So this is how we get around it. You go onto the interwebs, you use fonts.google.com. And basically what this is it's a bunch of, it's a reservoir of fonts that you link to your site. So you don't own them, you don't host them, you're not distributing them. Google does. So Google has the rights to these fonts. And what you do is that you link your site to basically these fonts. I think they're linked to CSS sheets. And then when they go to open up your site, they will get the fonts from Google. So you don't really have any responsibility other than saying, hey, these are Google fonts. These are the Google fonts I'm using. And then they're able to get it, and that will work on any device because it's online. So whether it be a mobile, Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever, they'll be able to get that from Google, and it'll distribute. So you don't have to worry about any of that copyright issue, none of that stuff. Notice that all stuff we're using is Google, which kind of seems like, I don't know, feels a little weird to me, but hey, what are we going to do, right? So if it's free, it means you're the product. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to use this Google Fonts. I'm just going to show you how to use it. It's very robust. I like using this because it actually kind of helps you choose your fonts as well. So with typography, I think that's what I'm covering this week too. So you're going to see down here, I talk all about photography or typography, right? So what you write has an explicit meaning. So for instance, right here it says, you're invited. These are actually, just so you know, these are Google fonts. It says, you're invited, right? Now, when I say you're invited, you know what that means. It means that I want you to come, right, to a thing. You know what those words mean. Now, the way they are written makes it entirely different. So when you look at these 3, all the same words, you think different things. This one, it sounds like a wedding, right? Fancy invitational thing. It's some sort of formal activity. I don't want to go to it, but I know what it is, right? It means I'm going to have to pay somebody money to go to this stupid thing. Great. So, it means I have to go, but I don't want to. Now, if I look at this one, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a kid's birthday party, right? Because notice that this is very fanciful script font. Now, this one, it's very round, bubbly font, right? So, round makes you think of like a child or something, right? It's very non-obtrusive. And it's all different colors. So, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a birthday party. Same scenario. Again, I'm probably going to have to spend money to go to this party. But there'll probably be pizza, so I'm cool with it. I'll deal with that, right? So I like kids, and I like birthday party. That's fine. I can do that one, right? Now, we look at this one, I'm like, I might get murdered on that one. That's probably the one I'm going to choose to go to. Either that or you're going to assume that it's like a Halloween party or something, right? But each one has a different, you have an explicit, but the topography has this implicit thing, okay? Now, when you go to choose your fonts, for one, you need to think about the message that you're trying to convey, right? So these convey certain things. Let's say I was going to do a bank, right? Do me a favor, go look up bank logos or bank sites. What you're going to see is that all the fonts are very strong, thick, squarish type topography. And the reason for that is that square is a very stable, sturdy feeling. And so when you see those, it gives people a sense of stability. And with a bank, that's what you're looking for. So a lot of times with like businesses that are very like professional and we want to like, you will see that they will use thick, square fonts, okay? We talk about character design and stuff, and the same stuff that applies to character design also applies basically to topography. So you got to think about the message that you're going to do, okay? So, and then you kind of go from there. So you're going to need two fonts. You are going to need you're going to need your title fonts, which is basically fonts that are not going to be in long spans. It's just going to be titles. Usually they're your fancy ones. They're interesting looking. They draw your eye in. But if they were like long bodies of text, it would strain your eye and you'd have difficulty reading them. So they're not good for bodies, but they're good for headings. Then you have your body text, and basically your body text is your paragraph stuff. It's like large amount of text. They're not as interesting. It's not as, flurry. They're very straightforward, like this is this, and they're just meant for legibility. There is a little wiggle room. There's less wiggle room with that than there is with the heading fonts, okay? So you need two. Sometimes you have a third one where it's like, I'm going to use this as like when I'm trying to emphasize something or I'm trying to make something bold. Remember strong and emphasis? I might use that, make a CSS rule for strong, and then have a different font for when I say strong, or a different font for when I say emphasis. So you could have a third one, but that's like more of like a little, like, like if you see a magazine, they have a quote, and the quote's like, usually like a bigger font, and then it's like thinner, that kind of thing. Anyway, so we're going to want those two fonts. So fonts can generally be broken up into categories. Now, if you go online and research this, you're going to see people break them down into different groups. But if I go here, you can see we have serif, sans serif, display, handwriting, and monospace. Okay, so these are more or less what they are. So serif means they have the little nucks. So this one, I guess, might be a serif. Yeah, this is a serif. See how it's got these little feet on it, like on the end. They have extra little serifs, is what they call them. I call them nucks, but they have the extra little nublets on there. That's serif. Sans serif means without the serifs. So, for instance, this right here would be a sans serif. It's just very clean. It's just the basics of what the font is, and that's it. Display are your fancy fonts. Quite frankly, serif and sans serif can describe the rest of these. They all kind of fall into either one of those two categories, but usually people break them down to those two. Display basically is like your ransom font or your Goosebumps font or, your weird, your interesting looking, like the really off-the-wall, athletic fonts, things like that. Handwriting, sometimes it's called cursive. What else is it called? They have different names. And display also sometimes will be called like fantasy. I'm trying to think of it. They'll have different names for it, but it's the same idea. Or decorative, I think, is another thing they call display fonts. But handwriting, sometimes called cursive, sometimes called something else. I can't think what it is. But basically it's meant that like it would be your cursive fonts. But also, like, Comic Sans is technically a handwriting font. It's font that's meant to imitate writing by hand, like the name suggests. Monospace is a very specific thing. That is actually when every letter is the exact same width. That is a holdover from when we used to do typing on a typewriter. Because typewriter had little feet that would knock up. Basically, each letter had to be exactly the same because they couldn't have them be different sizes because then the thing would jam up and they wouldn't line up. So every character is the exact same width. Now, for the most part, unless you have a very specific reason for it, we usually don't use that. We use it in coding. And the reason why is that way it makes it easier to line stuff up. I could elaborate on it, but So unless you're doing like, I want to make it look like an old typewriter, or you have like a certain aesthetic in mind, you're probably not going to use that. So what I suggest is this. Think about what your heading font is first. What is the font that you're going to use to draw people in? So this is going to be like the title of your site, and maybe some of your subtitles will be this font, okay? So for those, you're probably going to want, you're probably not going to want monospace. Maybe you might, like if you're doing a website and it's about like coding or something, or you're doing a website and it's about like script writing, but probably not monospace. You probably don't want serif or sans serif. These are usually your body texts. So if you think about serif with the little nucks there, that's typically what you would see inside of a printed newspaper. That's typically serif. That basically came around because they found that it was easier to read large bodies of text on a printed page. But for digital stuff, we usually like to use sans serif. And the reason for that is because we have to do with pixels. So the resolution, it's resolution dependent. Not that serif isn't, but the serifs will add the extra little jibbly bits, and it'll actually make it more difficult to read on a digital device, on a screen. So usually we use the sans serif. But anyways, turn those off. Then really we come down to display or handwriting. Again, it's going to kind of matter of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to make a site about like Lisa Frank, right, or something, then that's a handwriting font. Most of the time, I don't really like handwriting fonts, so I'm going to turn that off. So for the most part, it's probably going to be display. I mean, I kind of broke it down for you, but you can totally do those other ones. You might find that there's ones there, but I'm just trying to make it easier to find a font. More than likely, you're going to want that. Now, what I would do is start here. If you don't find what you like, then you can turn on the other ones and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to do display. Now, what you can do is up here, I'm going to put a sentence in, and I'm just going to do, now you can leave what they have, but I'm just going to do cones, because that's what I'm doing, and that way I can kind of see what that looks like, and you can see it's updating fabulously. What is going on with this? Man, let's refresh it. It's pretty terrible. Really let me down here, Google. Let's see if it works this time. Okay, well, that didn't work out. Let's see. Can I take this out and we'll put something else in? Let's see what happens. Maybe I broke it. Oh, it's really upset with me. I swear this has never happened before. Actually, it really hasn't happened before. The frick? Okay. Well, I'm just going to work with the ones that it's giving me, and we'll just roll with that. How's that sound? Okay. So I'm just going to go down, and I'm going to... Oh, crap. Oh, no, just say display. This looks like a handwriting font. Anyway, some of them might overlap as well. So I'm going to look for a font that I think would be nice for my titles. So I'm just going to scroll down, and I will scroll all the way through. There are a lot of them, but there's not that many of them. And I'm going to look for a font that gives me the message I want. So if I want to do something like kind of friendly and silly, this might be good. This one's definitely really silly. This one kind of, I don't know. This one's interesting. I kind of like that one. This is way too, I don't know, all over the place. I don't like that one. This one's way too hard. I think maybe this one, because I'm not trying to make something too serious. This has got a very technology feel to me. I don't know, something about it. You know, a lot of it's just like, how does it make you feel? I like this one's really cool. But I don't think that makes sense with, like if I was going to do an artist portfolio or something, you know what I mean? Like, because it's got like that, it's like hand-drawn. That might work. I like to do like thicker fonts, even though these lighter fonts I think look nicer. I don't think they would work as well for me, for titles. So I'm just going to go down and look. I like that one too. I like all these little scribbly ones. I don't remember those being there before. And I'm just going to look for something that I think looks clean and nice. Let's see. Freckle face, huh? Look at some. I think they added more than they used to. It's cool. Let's see. This is taking too long. We're going to go with spicy rice. And the reason why is because it was right here, and I like the name, spicy rice. So, what you do is you find one you like. I'm going to click on it. You can also search for it right here. So, you're trying to follow along. You could choose totally choose a different font. Find a font that looks better. You might make a better choice than me. I'm not really that great of a graphic designer. So, anyway, I'm going to click on this guy. And then what it's going to do, it's going to do a couple of things for me. It's going to show me this stuff. It's going to give me all this size. I can change the size here to see what that would look like. Tell you a little bit about it. Some license stuff. And then the part that I like is that it gives you pairings. And what I think is interesting about this is that it's like this, it's like this looks great with, whatever. This wine is great with this stew beef or something. So, but what it's doing is it's saying, okay, spicy rice, and it goes well with Griffey, which I honestly don't like either one of those. Let's see railway. That one's okay. Let's look at Oswald. See, to me, that's too hard. See how squished it is? It makes it difficult to read. Rock salt. I mean, rock salt should go with spicy rice. That's a little bit too hard to read as well. And I don't like that one. So it's looking like railway is the one to me. I think these work okay. Man, I really don't like this spicy rice now. It looks very psychedelic. It's got like a 60s feel. But we're just going to go with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, okay, I like it. We're good. I love it. I want some more of it. I'm going to go up here, and then we're going to click on to select this style. And then it's going to go ahead and it's going to add spicy rice for me. Okay. Now, what I also want to do is, it said railway, right? So I'm going to go to railway. How do I get you railway? Oh, right here. So railway. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it. Railway. I'm at the little plus here. That's also going to add railway. So what you're going to want to do is you want to get all of your fonts to start with. Okay? So, again, you're going to want to go to here, and you're going to click on this. I think you might be able to hit the plus down here as well to also add it. But then the one that it paired it with, I just hit the plus. So if I want to also add, what was Oswald? I really like that one. What was Griffey? I'm going to add Griffey too, just because. Okay? So I'm just going to add all those. So it's better to add too many than too little. All right? Now you're going to see you can download them, but I don't suggest doing it. It's better to just embed it. So if I click on embed, what it's going to do is it's going to give me the information I need in order to put it into my site. And this is where it's super easy. So I'm going to take this guy here. I'm just going to click and drag over this. This part is going to go, so I'm going to grab it. I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to go to my site, and then go to my code, and then up the very, very, very top, you can see we're linking right now. We're linking our own Bootstrap that it created for us. After that one, or it has to be in the head somewhere, but I'm just going to put it right after that one. I'm going to go ahead and Control V. Now what we just did is it's another link to another style sheet, and you can actually tell by reading it. So it says fonts, Google APIs, blah, 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 blah. And it actually says railway family, spicy rice, and Griffey, okay? And then its relationship is a style sheet, okay? So it's going to link basically a style sheet to us that has those fonts. So now those fonts are officially in my site. They're not attached to anything. I want to attach them now. So the way I have it, what I wanted to do was attach the spicy rice to my headings and the railway to my body fonts. So to do that, after this, I'm going to go ahead and add the style tag. We're just going to do an internal style sheet just because it'll be easier. We'll make it external after just to make it easier later on. And inside the style, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, okay, P, like that, open brace, close brace, okay? And then I'm going to go back to this. And then you can see right here, it actually gives me the CSS rules. So, which one was doing? Railway. So I'm going to go to railway. I'm going to click and drag. Can I drag this so you can see it better? Okay. But this font family, railway, sans, whatever. Okay. I'm going to take that, Control C, or Command C if you're on a Mac. I'm going to go inside of this P and hit Control V. Okay. So now it's P, font family, railway. Now I want to also do my headings. So I'm going to do an H1, comma, space, H2, comma, space, H3, comma, space, H4, comma, space, H5, comma, space, H6. I'm just going to do all of my H's at once. Okay. That way I'm just doing them all at once. And this one, I want to do the other guy there. So I'm going to go back over here. And I'm going to grab this guy here. Font family, spicy rice. Control C. Go back to my Dreamweavers. And I'll do Control V. And now, if I go to my live view, you're going to see they now have all of my headings have the that font, and all of the other stuff is now the other one. And that will work on any computer, which is, I mean, as long as it's connected to the internet, but obviously it gotta be because it's a website, so it's kind of inherently, right? So, anyway, yeah, so that one is that, and then, I don't know, what time am I at here? I just want to make sure we're not too long. So, I'm going to add one other thing, and that is Font Awesome. Okay, just because I don't want this to get too long. Let me see, make sure I'm grabbing everything that I wanted to do. Yes, okay. So Font Awesome. Basically what this is, it's technically fonts, but you know how you have wingdings, and they have different wingdings that are actually just like a bunch of different pictures, and we don't really use them. We used to use them quite a bit back in the day when we didn't have the emoticons that you guys do. But, you know, they're like stupid stuff, right? So basically that's what it is, but instead of like dumb wingdings, they're basically standardized icons. So, for instance, right off the bat, if you look at my site, let's see, if I minimize this. You see this here? See this? This is called a hamburger, by the way. This little menu thing. That's actually, that is a Font Awesome. I'll show you, actually. So, basically, Font Awesome is just, it's a whole library of icons that you see in a bunch of different things. So a lot of like your mobile apps and websites that you see, when you see these icons, you're like, you recognize that icon, you've seen it a million times in a bunch of different other things. That's all Font Awesome. And what's nice about this is that, for one, you don't have to make them yourself. And two, because you're just linking to their site, you know that it's standard, so they're going to easily recognize what it is and know how it functions, right? It's part of our common language at this point. So anyways, I'm going to click on Font Awesome here. Now, they changed the way that we used to do this, which kind of sucks. I don't really like it. So you have to basically follow you used to be able to just grab it and slap it on in, but now you have to like make an account and do all this other stuff. And it's lame, but it is what it is. So let's start for free. Hopefully I can even do this. Okay, enter your email. So I'm just going to go ahead and do jonathan.r.cone@willmu.edu. And the reason why I'm using my willmu one is because I've already done this with my other one, my Cecil one, so I just want to make sure it's whatever. So then I'm going to hit send kit code, and then and so you're going to type in your email address, whatever one you want, and then you should be able to go back. Where are you at? Here we go. Font Awesome. Okay, they're going to send me a thing. Click here to confirm and set your email address up. And then, so they sent me a thing, and now they want me to set up an account. Okay, so at this point, you're going to have to set up an account. I am going to pause my video because I don't want you to see my password. All right, so I literally just filled out the stuff, asked for my name or what have you, right? So I set all that up, and then what it does is it has this stuff here, okay? Now, I could click on how to use, and it should explain some of it, but what we're going to do is I'm going to copy the kit code, all right? And then I'm going to go to Dreamweaver, and I'm going to go to my code, and kind of like what I did before, I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top here. And remember, now I have the Bootstrap, I did the Google APIs, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this. Which actually, I'm going to, we'll leave it there for now, but I actually might need to put it on the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to paste it there, and then what we're going to do is look up icons to use. Okay, so if you click on the icons, come on, icons. It can do it. There it goes. And we want to click on free because yo soy muy pobre. I'm sure you are too. So click on free, and then I'm just going to scroll down so you can kind of see, but a lot of these icons you probably already sort of, you probably have already sort of seen some of these. Like, who hasn't seen this baby icon or this bacterium one? All right, so some of these obviously are not, but these arrows, audio transition. If I scroll down, you can see, like, you'll see ones for Facebook. Here's one for Bootstrap. You'll see ones for money or PayPal or Facebook. they'll have icons for all of those different, like there's an Apple Pay one, there's an Amazon Pay one. There's all these ones in here. There's a cat one, right? We all need cat ones. I'm going to see what they have for cone, because, you know, I'm a narcissist. So they have an ice cream cone. Got to be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed, but we'll go with it. So I'm going to click on ice cream. Come on. Sorry, this is a little bit slow. And I know this video is getting long. And I'm going to go like that, start using this icon. And then basically, all you got to do is copy this. Control C. And then wherever you want it to be is where you're going to paste it. So I'm going to go to my Dreamweaver. And then what does mine look like right here? I just want to see where I want to put it. I don't know. I'll put it where this card title is, right? So I'm just going to put it right there, just so you can see it. So where's the card title? Okay, so I'm going to expand this card title. And then all I'm going to do is card title right here. So actually just inside of the card title, but before the word card title, I'm going to hit Control V. So it's blah, blah, blah. And then if I click on live, you're going to see a little ice cream cone guy. See it? Woo! Magical. Now this will be more useful later on in the next class, because I'm going to probably replace my nav bar here with like maybe so for instance, if I go here and let's say let's go back and let's say I use home. Come on, buddy. There we go. Home. Right? So like that looks like a home icon, so I can click on that. And copy, and I'll click on this to copy it. Alright, actually let's do it right now. So I'm going to click on that to copy the home. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to my code. Actually, let's do split so I can see both. And I'm going to, where are you? So I'm going to look up where my nav bar is. I'm going to open it up. And you see right where it says the word nav bar? Instead of nav bar, I'm going to click, I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to Control V to paste the other thing. The I class fa blah blah blah. And there it is. So what they're doing, because you're probably like, what is this? This is kind of weird. They're using the I. So if you remember I, that tag is italics. But remember now we use emphasis because that has semantic meaning. Why italicized is a formatting thing. So it doesn't really have any, semantic, it doesn't mean anything. It just means make it slanted, right? Which actually that doesn't mean exactly that, but it kind of means that, right? It just means make it look a certain way. Well, we don't like to use that. We'd rather use emphasis, which by default does what italicized does because it has semantic meaning. So what Font Awesome did is that they realized no one's using the I tag. So they use the I tag here, and then they make it empty. There's nothing inside of it, you can see, right? And then they just put a class, and they have different classes for different things. So if you look, this is Font Awesome, I don't know what this, FAS. They have some sort of system here, and then FA Home. Okay, so basically this has two classes applied. It has FAS and then this FA-Home. And that is a class, and in that class, in that CSS file, or actually it's JavaScript, it's going to show this little drawing, right? And if I go down to where I have my little cone, oops, let's go up here, you're going to see it's going to say, where are you at? So again, it's got that little I class, and then the class is blah, 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 fa, ice cream. And so you're going to see the names actually kind of make sense with what the logos are. But that's Font Awesome. So you can totally use those, and I'll show you how to change their colors and things like that too. But they're super useful because, for one, you don't have to make the graphics. They're already built in. But the main reason is that a lot of what we're trying to do is we are trying to make things that people will understand, that they can read it and they understand that language. Like everybody knows that when you click on this, that means that this is an expandable, that this is an expandable menu item. I click on that and it means it's going to drop down, right? I remember actually, this is going to make me sound really old. I didn't have a smartphone till way late. Like I was a late adopter because I didn't want to pay the fees. And I had an Xbox, and I remember at one point they updated the OS. And when they updated it, the menu was now this hamburger thing. Well, I had no idea what that meant. And I'm like, where the HE double hockey sticks is the menu. So I had like an old, like an old person where they do like, I scrub with my index finger as opposed to this. I had one of those moments where I'm like, where is it? Darn kids. Because I didn't know that language. But at this point, I mean, it's been years now since then, people know what this means. And so they'll understand what this icon means too. And so, for instance, another great example of this is, again, we're trying to make a site. And let's say your site's using, you want to be able to, for people to put money in, right? Well, if you're doing that, right, I'd want to use this official Visa icon, because if I like hack one together myself, they're not going to trust that. They're not going to put their money on there. Now, they don't know that all you had to do was slap on this, but they're not going to trust to put that on there. So you want to use these because it gives that feeling of understanding and trustworthiness. Okay, so that's why these are really good, and so you should use them. I mean, obviously, don't throw them all over the place, but you should definitely use them where applicable. Okay. All right, so we added some random stuff. Obviously, it doesn't look super great, and at some point, I'll probably go through and actually put like real content in here. But I just wanted to get you to see that that these things are in here. Now, there are a ton of other things on the internet. For instance, I used to not teach Bootstrap, and I used to have students. There was a website you could upload pictures, and then they would give you a link. It was an iframe, but it was a slideshow. And so you could upload there, and they would give you a slideshow, and then you could slap that iframe right in here. So you might find, and if you do see anything else that's really cool, let me know, because I will totally steal it and throw it in my stuff or add it to the the curriculum. But there's a lot of other things out there that people do that you could totally utilize. Okay, so you might even notice, like, some of the times I put like little games in there. I don't know if I have any in this class, but some of the other ones I have little games that I just stole from other websites that I just iframe into my thing. So there's a bunch of interesting, cool stuff out there, and that's the great thing. I mean, the whole point of the internet, right, is to share stuff. That's why it was created to begin with. So if you find something else out there that's really neat and you want to like include it in your site, I have no problem with that, right? Just make sure that you have the allowance that they, what I mean, that you have the right to do that. Okay. Sometimes I take things but I try to. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna call that good. So just get this much done. We didn't actually really even do that much. I just wanted to get those items in there just so you get an idea. I spent a little bit of time talking about fonts and stuff just because it is such a crucial thing. Most of our content is text, so it is important to understand that. We're trying to create a language that people would understand. All right. So yeah, finish this. Go, when you're done, save it. So I'm going to hit, well, I'm not going to save it right now, but save it. And then, just, you got to make sure that you grab that whole folder and that you zip it, right? So let me grab it over here. Where are you? Class materials. Come on. There we go. And then, so you have, I think this is week. Oh, I opened up the wrong one. I think I did finish. Cones. So I have this cones folder. So basically, if I open up cones, you can see I have all the stuff in here. I need all of that in order for it to work. So I'm going to take this, right click, and send to compress zip folder. Or if you're on a Mac, right click compress, and it will make the name. I don't care what the name is so much, but just make sure that inside of it's got all this stuff, okay? Then you're going to take that zip folder and you will submit it. All right? That is it. So, good day, good job. Keep up the good work, guys.